don't know what it is with Costa Rica and Gold Cups. Yesterday was a result that should have been surprising, but as I noted before, you look at Costa Rica's Gold Cup history, and they're known for not playing to their best ability. They're known for not going very far in these kind of tournaments. I don't think they've gotten to the semifinals in 15 years. And for some reason, when Costa Rica plays in CONCACAF Gold Cups, they're like a shell of their former selves. They shut down, they play to the level of their opponent, and they underwhelm. Last Gold Cup in 2015, they finished with 3 draws, 3 points, eliminated in the quarterfinals, albeit that elimination to Mexico in the quarterfinals was a little bit controversial. But still, there's absolutely no excuse. I don't care how inspired Canada was. I don't care how much Canada was trying to build on their opening success against French Guiana. There's absolutely no excuse why Costa Rica cannot beat a team like Canada. They should have gotten 6 points yesterday, but they almost lost the game. What happened? I want to say that Canada put in a very stellar performance. They looked dangerous in the counter, especially through Alphonso Davies. He is now the leading goal scorer of the Gold Cup so far this tournament. All credit to him. His speed is absolutely incredible. But still, in almost every conceivable way, Costa Rica is a better team. They should have won this match. When I went away for a few minutes from my television, I came back and it was Canada 1-0. I didn't feel surprised. Not to say that Canada is on the same level as Costa Rica, just that you expect Costa Rica to screw up in Gold Cups. And that's one of the reasons I did not pick them to win this tournament. Everyone's saying, well, Mexico, the U.S., they're being challenged by their regional rivals. They're sending C teams. They may not win this tournament. Look out for Costa Rica. I picked Costa Rica to get to the semifinals based on respect alone. But now I'm not comfortable at all that they'll get to the semis. Are you comfortable with that? I don't think I'm comfortable with that prediction now. They play the runner-up of Group B, the United States and Panama. I think both of them could beat Costa Rica. In fact, I'd probably pick Panama or the United States to be slight favorites over Costa Rica, given how Costa Rica had performed over the course of these last 2 group games. Them having 4 points is somewhat of a farce. That's a harsh word to use, but if you award them points based on how they played this tournament, they should have 1 point. They should have lost to Honduras, and they should have gotten a draw yesterday with Canada, which they did. So, at the end of the day, give Canada credit, because 2 games into this group, who would have thought they'd have 5 goals scored? This is a team that went the last 2 Gold Cups in 2013 and 2015 without scoring anything. They now have 5 goals with 1 match remaining in the group. Costa Rica with, by comparison, only 2 goals. Honduras, who I'll get to in a second, no goals scored so far in 2 games. How many people would have predicted that? Canada's still sitting on top of the group. And given how Costa Rica have been playing, and looking at this French Guyanese team that's inspired behind their main player, Florent Malouda, I wouldn't be surprised if Costa Rica doesn't beat French Guiana. I wouldn't be surprised if Canada actually ends up winning this group. And I don't think anyone predicted that beforehand. So for Costa Rica, I mean, it's disappointing because people are now starting to think, are we overrating this team? Did we place too high of an expectation on them heading into this tournament? Knowing their history. I don't know what it is with Costa Rica and Gold Cups. For some reason, they can't turn up. They can't do it. They'll probably beat French Guiana, but I guarantee it won't be a blowout. I can't guarantee anything in soccer, but I I can say with confidence, I don't think that game's going to be a blowout. You want my prediction for Costa Rica, French Guiana? 2-0. 2-0. You know? But, you know, honestly, look at who's playing the best football in this group. It's coming from the Canadians. Shockingly. So, moving on. French Guiana and Honduras. Tricky situation developing here. Because French Guiana have fielded Florent Maluda, who was deemed ineligible to play just like an hour or a couple of hours or so, maybe more, before the first match against Canada, if they had fielded him in that match, they would have forfeited. And I think the team was so pissed off at CONCACAF, or FIFA, I'm not sure, that they decided to field Florent Maluda last night. And a lot of people are saying because they did that, the CONCACAF Board of Review directors are going to look at everything, and there's a very good chance that French Guiana, despite gotten a 0-0 draw with Honduras, will be docked those 3 points, and an automatic 3-0 win will be given to Honduras because of the fact that French Guiana fielded Florent Maluda. And they did it on purpose. They did not know what they were doing. They did it as a protest against the rules. And I have to say, that takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage because you're effectively shooting yourself in the foot. You're all but guaranteeing, all but eliminating yourself from the tournament, given that you lost your first game. But they don't care. That says, wow, they have some principle, that they're standing behind their fellow countrymen. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'm not sure if that was the right decision, because I can understand some people would argue you put your country and your team before one player. But then a lot of people will say, well, you know, he's a proud French Guyanese. Everyone supported him and loved him, so they stood behind him. They sent a big middle finger to CONCACAF. So I can kind of understand both arguments where both sides are coming from. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say in the comment section. Do you agree with French Guiana's protest in fielding Florent Maluda yesterday, or do you think it was silly and petty and just unnecessary? From Honduras, though, very disappointing, because regardless, you have to beat French Guiana. You have to. Now, I think I know what happened here. I think a combination of the same troubles that they had in the game against Costa Rica, where they couldn't put away their chances through Romel Kyoto and Elise. I think that, and also the fact that Honduras knew that no matter what happened, they would at least be getting a 3-0 victory recorded against French Guiana anyway. Although at the moment that has not been confirmed, it's still under review. So until that is confirmed, both French Guiana and Honduras are sitting on 1 point in the group. If it's not confirmed, I'm sorry, but that'll be hilarious, because that means it'll backfire on Honduras. Because I think another reason why they didn't score last night was because they didn't play with the same intensity they did against Costa Rica, because they probably assumed CONCACAF would award them the 3-0 victory. And even if that's true, I still think that's not the right mindset to approach this game, because you approach every game to win regardless of the fact of a predetermined result. So you don't sit back and say, well, fuck it, there's no way, there's no points, there's no incentive to go out and get the win because we're going to get awarded it anyway. I don't agree with that. You're a soccer player, you're supposed to be professional. But on top of that, a lot of the chances that did come their way, they couldn't put them away. So I do think it was a little bit more than just not caring. I think that they legitimately struggled. So which one of these two factors came into play the most? I guess that's for other people to decide. But I mean, who knows? Maybe without the whole disqualification being the docked points for French Guiana's part, maybe this would have ended a draw regardless, and that would have been a huge point for French Guiana. But anyway, regardless, for Honduras, it's disappointing, because you know what would have happened if Honduras would have won 3-0 anyway without the forfeit. Let's say they actually scored 3 goals, right, and they won 3-0. What would have happened is CONCACAF would have given them the choice to win by any scoreline they wanted to. So they could get a choice to keep that 3-0, or let's say if Honduras had won 4-0, right? Honduras would have a choice of an automatic 3-0 or that 4-0 margin. Or they would be given the choice of any margin, of any victory by a 3-goal margin. So if Honduras had beaten French Guiana 3-0, they could say, we want a 5-2 victory. We want a 6-3 victory. And actually this would have been smart, because if they had won 3-0, they should aim for a higher scoreline. Because if you look at Canada's position in the group, Canada is sitting on 4 points with 5 goals scored and 3 conceded, right? So that's +2 goal differential. If Honduras had won this 3-0, they could argue for a 6-3 victory over French Guiana. That would have put Honduras at 4 points, 6 goals scored, and 4 conceded with a +2 goal differential. Same as Canada, but they would be ahead by virtue of number of goals scored, 6 compared to 5. And that would mean they would only need a draw against Canada. So a lot of numbers crunching, I know, very specific details, but they really should have pursued the 3-0 victory last night, because having done so, they would have been given the option to choose any scoreline they wanted. That's the rules, guys. I'm not making this up. They could have chosen, we want to win 103-100, and it'll get officially recorded. That would have been on the table. If they had chosen 5-2, they'd be tied with Canada on points, goals scored, goals difference, not in that order, and it would all come down to the head-to-head result in the last group game. So a 5-2 would not have been good enough to go ahead of Canada to have the advantage. They should have gone for a 6-3, but who knows? Because the coaching staff in that moment in time when they're focusing on the game, they might not know that in real time. But anyway, that's all speculative. We can talk about that onward, but there's no point in doing it because they did not get any goals yesterday. So it ended 0-0. It's looking like it's going to end a 3-0 automatic forfeit, which means in their last group game, Honduras likely needs a win against Canada to overtake them they definitely need a win to overtake them, because Costa Rica, you have to assume, despite the fact that they've been absolute crap in this tournament so far, they're probably going to beat French Guiana. So Honduras needs a victory over Canada if they want to avoid finishing in third. And those are my reactions to these two games, guys. Enjoy the other 2 games today between the United States and Martinique, and Panama and Nicaragua. I'll give my reactions to those tomorrow. Till then, peace out, much love, have a good evening.